There's a moment when people stop reacting to you. Not dramatically, not loudly, just subtly. They stop waiting for your opinion. They stop asking where you stand. They stop adjusting their plans around you. And the strangest part? You usually don't notice when it starts. Because nothing explodes, nothing breaks. You're still there, still present, still participating. But something about you has changed in a way that lowers urgency. And in social dynamics, urgency is value. The silent trait that makes you replaceable doesn't look aggressive. It doesn't look toxic. It looks reasonable. That's why it's dangerous. At first, people describe you positively. You're so understanding. You're low maintenance. You don't make things complicated. It sounds like a compliment. But over time, those same traits start shifting your position. If you never push back, if you rarely disagree, if you adapt faster than others adjust, you become convenient. And convenience doesn't create tension. Without tension, there's no emotional weight. And without emotional weight, people don't feel the cost of losing you. The moment someone feels there's no cost, they unconsciously start investing less. Human relationships operate on perceived impact, not on effort, not on kindness, on impact. If your absence changes nothing, your presence slowly loses meaning. This isn't cruelty, it's cognitive economy. The brain automatically prioritizes people who shift outcomes, who influence decisions, who create contrast, who introduce friction when necessary. If you smooth every edge, if you absorb every conflict, if you reduce yourself to maintain harmony, you lower your perceived influence. And influence is what keeps someone irreplaceable. The silent trait isn't being quiet, it's becoming frictionless. Friction isn't conflict. Friction is presence. It's the subtle resistance that signals individuality. When you say, "I don't agree," when you delay instead of instantly adapting, when your reaction isn't predictable, that unpredictability creates psychological weight. Predictability feels safe, but excessive predictability feels optional. If someone can fully anticipate your response, they stop needing to consult you. And when consultation disappears, influence disappears with it. People don't replace those who reshape the room. They replace those who simply fit into it. The shift never feels dramatic. It happens through small adjustments. They text someone else first. They make plans. Without checking your availability, they stop explaining their decisions to you. Not because they dislike you, but because they don't feel psychological resistance in your absence. You became adaptable. So adaptable that your presence stopped altering direction. And here's the paradox. You probably became this way to avoid losing people, to avoid being too much, too emotional, too demanding, but in trying to become easier to keep, you removed the reason to fight for you. Most people don't become frictionless by accident. They become frictionless after losing something, after being told they were too intense, too emotional, too difficult. So they learn to soften, to respond faster, to apologize quicker, to remove edges before anyone complains. It feels mature. It feels evolved. But underneath that adaptation is fear. Fear that if you take space, you'll be abandoned. So you shrink preemptively. And shrinking creates comfort. But comfort is not attachment. Attachment requires emotional consequence. If there's no consequence to ignoring you, there's no urgency to protect you. Every meaningful relationship contains emotional cost. Cost of disagreement. Cost of negotiation. Cost of adjustment. When someone has to recalibrate because of you, your presence gains structural weight. But if you absorb all recalibration internally, the structure never shifts. You become stable, predictable, non-disruptive, which sounds ideal, until you realize that stability without impact becomes background noise. And background noise is easily replaced. The brain doesn't cling to what feels optional. It clings to what alters the environment. Replaceability is rarely announced. There's no conversation, no confrontation, just subtle reordering. You move from priority to convenience, from consulted to informed, from central to peripheral. And the painful part is this: you may still be liked. People might still describe you as great, but great without impact becomes neutral, and neutrality slowly dissolves significance. This is the invisible demotion. You didn't fail. You didn't explode. You simply stopped shifting outcomes. This isn't about being loud. You can be quiet and still be influential. The difference is internal posture. Do you stand somewhere, or do you dissolve into whatever is easiest? Silence with boundaries feels grounded. Silence without boundaries feels compliant. Grounded people create orientation in a room. Compliant people mirror the room. And mirrors are useful, but they're not irreplaceable. If you never define your edges, others will define them for you. And once someone defines you as flexible, they start testing how far you bend. There's a moment where you notice it, not because someone says it, but because you feel it. You feel yourself waiting to be chosen, waiting to be included, waiting to matter again. That waiting is the signal. You don't wait in spaces where your presence shifts gravity. You don't wait where your voice alters direction. Waiting appears when your influence has decreased. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people don't reduce your value. They respond to how much structural weight you allow yourself to carry. To stop being replaceable, you don't need to become aggressive. You need to reintroduce friction, small friction, delayed responses instead of instant compliance, disagreement without apology, boundaries without over-explaining. Friction signals presence, presence signals impact, impact restores psychological weight. When someone adjusts because of you, your value recalibrates. It won't feel comfortable at first, because your nervous system equates resistance with rejection. But resistance is not rejection, it's differentiation. Differentiation means your reactions are not fully predictable. It means you hold internal standards. It means your time, attention, and agreement are not automatic. Scarcity increases perceived value. Automatic availability decreases it. When access to you feels earned rather than assumed, investment increases. This isn't manipulation. It's basic psychology. The human brain invests more in what requires calibration. And calibration only happens when there's resistance. Without resistance, there's drift. And drift is how people slowly exit your orbit. The shift back begins with discomfort. You'll feel tension when you don't immediately adapt. You'll feel anxiety when you let silence stretch. You'll feel guilt when you don't. Over-accommodate. That discomfort is withdrawal. Withdrawal from being frictionless. And every time you survive that discomfort without shrinking, your internal authority strengthens. Internal authority changes posture. Posture changes perception. Perception changes behavior. Behavior changes position. And position determines whether someone sees you as optional or essential. When you stop collapsing into ease, something subtle happens. People recalibrate. They pause longer before assuming your agreement. They check more often. They negotiate instead of dictate. Not because you demanded it, but because your presence now carries consequence. Consequence doesn't require drama. It requires boundaries. Boundaries don't push people away. They clarify where you stand, and clarity creates gravity. Gravity keeps people in orbit. The silent trait that makes you replaceable isn't being quiet. It isn't being kind. It isn't being calm. It's becoming so frictionless that your absence changes. Nothing. And nothing is easy to replace. You don't need to become louder. You need to become heavier. Heavier in standards, heavier in boundaries, heavier in presence. Because in social dynamics, people don't protect what feels optional. They protect what shifts the room when it walks in. If this felt uncomfortable, it's probably because you've felt it before. The next question isn't, why am I replaceable? It's this: when did people stop taking me seriously? Watch the next video.